They're protesting about, their sons, their husbands, their family members who have been disappeared. And they're like, but we didn't see it in the media. Did it really happen? Regrettably, what you find is that for people who are not considered safe by the larger community or by mainstream media.
Do you think Tamil women are having access to politics?
Women are not in decision-making positions within political parties. So when it comes to nominations, etc., they have very little power. All those reasons, you need a lot of financial resources to campaign, given our electoral systems. They do not have that, or it's difficult for them to raise it. So only women who are part of political or privileged, influential, wealthy families are able to contest and win. Social media is a double-edged sword, as you well know. And so it is a great tool for women to express themselves, because they might not, they don't get visibility in formal media. They might not be people who are known, but still they have something to say, they want to say it. Social media is the tool that they have used. Even these social media platforms, largely created by men, run by men, they claim to have, their community standards, so that you're supposed to complain and they will take down posts that are racist or anti-LGBTIQ or bigotry or hate. Mainstream media is not carrying these stories. Now, during the Aragalia, we saw a little bit of it, in that people, or younger people once again, who became aware of these issues, tried to bring them up during the Aragalia. Like during the protests, you would have a few people holding a few placards, posters related to some of the issues, that are important to the North, or that are critical in the North. But you don't find this in mainstream media.
Welcome to Her Pulse, a program dedicated to women's issues, brought to you by She Digital, a platform dedicated to women. Today we are going to discuss women's representation, as well as the impact of disinformation as well as hate on women who are in public life. To discuss the topic, we have a human rights lawyer, a human rights activist, a feminist, and a former human rights commissioner. Welcome to the show, Ambika.
Thank you for having me on the show, Dilruksha.
Thank you so much for joining us. I would like to, go back in time and talk to you about some of your experiences as a lawyer and, taking up issues that are close to women, and also to trace whether you see any developments where more women coming into politics, more women finding public spaces a lot more accepting of them. Is that something that you witness?
Actually, yes. What I have seen over the last 25 years, I've been working in the human rights field for 25 years, a long time, but it doesn't feel that long, is that increasingly we have seen younger women becoming more active in public life. Engaging in advocacy on issues. Now, this is not in a particularly organized manner, because in other countries we have seen women's marches, women's movements as such. We don't really have that here, but we have groups of women, we have networks of women, we have women who function individually. And I think social media is a double-edged sword, as you well know. And so it is a great tool for women to express themselves, because they might not, they don't get visibility in formal media. They might not be people who are known, but still they have something to say, they want to say it. Social media is the tool that they have used. Then we see I use this example all the time, is that the mothers of the disappeared, who have been protesting for years now and under a lot of surveillance, harassment, intimidation, but have taken up that public space. But regrettably, what you find is that for people who are not considered safe by the larger community or by mainstream media, they are not given space within mainstream media, within public discourse. So if the mothers of the disappeared engage in a protest, or if they are subject to some sort of violence by law enforcement, that is reported most often only in the Tamil media. We do not see that in the northern, you do not see that in the southern media. So when it becomes known to people in the south, there are people who are outraged, who are like, why are they doing this to these women? They're protesting about, their sons, their husbands, their family members who have been disappeared. And they're like, but we didn't see it in the media. Did it really happen? Yes, it did. So that is also a challenge for many of these women who might, if you're not considered safe, then mainstream media is close to you, social media is your only means. Even when you use social media, then of course you will be subject to harassment, intimidation, threats, getting all sorts of direct messages, etc. So although we see a lot of women coming, more women, shall we say, coming into the public sphere, commensurately, you do also find that there is a lot of hate that is being directed at women. The reason for this is that we are a patriarchal society. Women are expected to know their place. And when they see an increasing number of women, especially young women, expressing themselves or expressing their sexuality or expressing their political opinions, clearly, patriarchy, society feels, oh, these women are, not fitting into or adhering to the boundaries that we have drawn for them. They are trying to work outside these boundaries and to claim public space, which is creating a lot of anger, and therefore there is this vitriol and this hate, sexism, misogyny being directed at these young women. Which points to that we are a deeply patriarchal society.
That's a very interesting observation about the mainstream media and the fact that they do not create space for these issues to be taken up. So in a way, people are forced to, take your issues to alternate platforms. And perhaps the digital media is creating that space, while it's really not mainstream media. So they have the right to access both. Having said that, do you find...
If you don't mind, one other point is,
yes,
even these social media platforms, largely created by men, run by men, they claim to have, their community standards, so that you're supposed to complain and they will take down posts that are racist or anti-LGBTIQ or bigotry or hate. But what we find is that it does not happen. These community standards are not adhered to, particularly where women are concerned. And even existing protections, like for instance on X, which used to be Twitter, they are taking off or taking down, removing existing protections which are going to adversely affect women. So the patriarchy is not just in Sri Lanka. Patriarchy is also within big tech.
Once again, thank you, because I think femtech is another topic that people are really talking about. Very few women are engaged in decision-making positions or taking those tech jobs at big tech. And obviously there is no nuance, there is no understanding or empathy. Yeah. That's a given. Having said that, do you also find mainstream also doing this othering the same way? Because while we use social media, while we use these available platforms, there is a lot of hate, there is a lot of vitriol, as you said. There is also a lot of fragmentation and compartmentalization that is taking place. So issues are clubbed as single issues, Tamil issues, women's issues, or particularly relevant to a certain community or a place. So this is also happening. So we are working with a lot of divisions that are also coming up with the digital storytelling experiences. How does it impact a place like the North, for example? There are so many unresolved issues and people have to take those issues out and place it in the public domain. But you also have to deal with ethno-religious marginalization that is on tech. Mm-hmm. What are your experiences?
Well, there are clearly many unresolved issues like the political solutions to the ethnic conflict. accountability for violations of human rights and humanitarian law during the war. We have lands that are still being occupied or appropriated for supposedly public use, but it is to expand military presence there. We have, the strongest military presence in the north, the military getting involved in activities that are actually within civil administration. We have surveillance, intimidation, harassment of civil society, of human rights defenders, of the media, of the families of the disappeared, etc. All of this is going on. But it is like it is another country altogether, because the people in the South don't know this is going on. Because once again, mainstream media is not carrying these stories. Now, during the Aragalia, we saw a little bit of it, in that people, or younger people once again, who became aware of these issues, tried to bring them up during the Aragalia. Like during the protests, you would have a few people holding a few placards, posters related to some of the issues, that are important to the North, or that are critical in the North. But you don't find this in mainstream media. If there is an incident that happens, it's reported in the Tamil media, and there are organizations now that actually map this and show you Sinhala, English, Tamil media. Sometimes the issue, you do not see it at all. So the othering does take place, and it is for many reasons, I think. One is that for a long time, there was the state, the fear of state reprisal if you report on certain issues, and not direct straight reprisal in the terms of, let's say, someone throwing a grenade at a studio or trying to burn it down, which has happened, but maybe they may withdraw advertisements, right? Or they may not give you interviews, or when you invite them to your shows, they may not turn up. So there are many ways, many forms of reprisals, and media organizations like to play it safe because they also would like to generate revenue. Therefore, these things are not given visibility. The other thing is when you form a panel, right? How many women do you have? Now, this is something that I have a bone to pick on this issue with many of the media institutions, and even when I have been invited or not invited, I have said, where are the women on your talk shows, right? And the other thing is there are other issues, certain issues, once again, that they are afraid to give space to because they think it is controversial. They think they will get a backlash, or there will be state reprisals. And it could be enforced disappearance, could be one of them, accountability for war crimes, definitely one of them, even things like drug control, right? Where Yuktiya was concerned, this is one of my soapbox issues, where Yuktiya was concerned, they would report what the police did, but there was nothing critical. So when you try to tell them, why don't you have a show on this where you invite people who can talk about what is wrong with this? Because there was a lot of wrong with it. There were not many takers. And I tried very hard, right? So that is a problem, that in the media does not, it's that saying, if it's raining, your job is to, it is to look out the window and to see whether it's raining and to report that, not to report just what is told to you. And I feel perhaps, media has forgotten that. So you do have the othering, you do have important issues that are not in the public domain, you do have persons and issues not being given visibility, and that is sometimes for self-serving reasons, sometimes it is due to fear, sometimes I think it is just habit. Because of the war, the repressive situation that we had, repressive governments, authoritarian governments, backlash, a lot of violence, it has become, certain behaviors have become entrenched and normalized, and perhaps people don't realize they are doing it, refusing to give space.
To shift a little bit away from that, we're just a few days away from electing legislators to a new parliament. And we all know that in the 76 years, We have only seen 60 women parliamentarians according to the Interparliamentary Union. So that is really an abysmal record for a country that claims to have produced the first woman prime minister, and we have a woman prime minister even now. What about representation of the Tamil speaking people? We haven't seen too many Tamil women coming to parliament or raising these issues or having the opportunity to raise these issues within political organizations. And I also refer to some of the reporting we have seen in recent weeks, where we understand that Tamil political parties are not necessarily looking at some of these issues as we speak. Probably the economic issues have become very predominant, but then, as you said, there are so many unresolved issues that they need to find representation, and women also have to be speaking about them at the highest assemblies. Do you think Tamil women are having access to politics?
I would say first, generally, the lack of women's representation is, usual patriarchy. The fact that political parties are also patriarchal, they are not democratic, women are not in decision-making positions within political parties. So when it comes to nominations, etc., they have very little power. All those reasons, you need a lot of financial resources to campaign, given our electoral systems. They do not have that, or it's difficult for them to raise it. So only women who are part of political or privileged, influential, wealthy families are able to contest and win. So those are the structural, systemic problems that I think ail all communities where political representation is concerned. Where Tamil women are concerned, yes. I mean, the irony is that Tamil women have been active in politics, because, when I was doing a study, I saw even in the, decades ago, women were on platforms campaigning. Women were part of protests. There was the mothers from the north, like the mothers that you had from the south. You also did have the mothers from the north who came out when they were implementing the PTA to prevent abuse of it, to prevent mass arrests, all that. So you do have women who are very active in society, in the socio-political sphere, but not exactly in formal politics. And once again, the same thing, the conservatism, the sexism, the patriarchy, the misogyny, that is one of the reasons. The other is, of course, political parties not realizing that. But now I think political parties, at least this time, everyone has tried to, or claims that they have tried to include more women on the nominations list, and more women are contesting this time, probably the most ever. So that is a little bit of progress, but we need much more, because also it is not fair, for instance, to bring a woman to say, okay, we will, give you a nomination, you can contest, and then not give her any support thereafter, right? Because she would need support in terms of financial resources to raise money. You can't just let her go off and say, oh, raise your own money and do your own campaign. They do need that support, and is the party structure willing to support them? And because of the preferential voting, there is, as we know, a lot of competition between candidates who also try to undermine each other, even within the party. So when that happens, of course, they will resort to, and they have in the past, sexist, misogynist attacks on women. So where women are concerned, they will talk about the way they dress or their personal relationships. And that is how they attack them, because also in a conservative society, if a woman is looked upon as someone of quote-unquote bad character, then naturally you're not going to get votes, right? So they also know which buttons to push. So women encounter, I think, a lot of structural, systemic, and also social obstacles. But the fact is, women are the ones, the North is the largest number of women-headed households. Those women are in extremely challenging economic circumstances, are earning a livelihood, are looking after their families. They are the ones who are active in, if you talk about human rights and, civic activism, you go to the north, most of these groups or the people who engage in it are women. They are the ones who are going and complaining to the district secretary or the GA about some social problem. If there is a woman or someone, a child being abused, it is the women in that village who are taking action, who go to the GS, the Grama Sevaka, or who go to the police, or accompany them. So women are the backbone, not just of Tamil society, I would say, just generally of society, but they encounter these problems. The other point that I do want to make, and in this I think I might differ from many others, is that we do need more women in parliament and in politics, because women constitute more than 50% of the population, and they do need to be there. To be in parliament or politics, a woman does not have to be feminist. It would be great if they were feminist, or it would be great if they, cared about women's rights, of course. But they don't have to be that to be in politics, point one. That said, just because someone is a woman, I would not vote for them, because I have standards, ethical standards about principles and positions. So I would say when you vote, look at the candidates, look at what their principles are, what are their positions on issues. And then, of course, if there is a man and a woman, I would definitely vote for the woman if they're both equal, right? Because we want to bring more of them to parliament because they are underrepresented. But I would not say, and I have heard people say this, oh, we are holding women to higher standards than men. Actually, I hold everyone to certain basic ethical standards that I want all my political representatives to have, all 225 members. Of course, this is aspirational and perhaps even naive in our context, but just to say, oh, if a woman does this, this is fine, we're holding her to higher standards. No, we need to hold everyone to certain basic ethical standards where we should expect them to act in a law-abiding and principled manner.
You spoke about the structural barriers, Ambika, and then there are new structural barriers because of social media. People actually try to take the messages out using the digital platforms, and then there is a lot of cyberbullying, online harassment, and I think you would know a lot about it.
Yes.
Because women are actually out there in the fray right now, and we see more women trying to contest this time. This also means the floodgates will open, in terms of bullying and harassment. Are political parties concerned about it? Do they have any structural responses? Do they have a conversation with big tech? I think there is also a level of responsibility not only to demand collectively accountability from the tech companies, but these political parties too can defend their candidates, defend their voters, and have an ask.
Yeah, I do not think so from what I know. I mean, I don't know what's going on internally, but I don't think that the parties have conversations with big tech, or they have a little cell there to monitor any sort of, cyber violence or bullying against women. And then the cell would immediately report to Meta or to Twitter or X, etc., and monitor whether the post is taken down or not. I highly doubt it. Right? What I have seen is that when women are bullied, sometimes their male colleagues or other women from the party, or even women from other political parties, just personally, on a personal basis, come out defending them. So that is also a positive thing that we see, is that, the women, regardless of party affiliation, if it is something that is, that is a sexist, misogynist remark, then, or it's abusive, then these women do come together regardless of party affiliation. Some of them, not all, a few of them, they come out and they defend their colleague. So that is fantastic to see, because yes, they are functioning on a principled basis. But where parties are concerned, I don't know, but it doesn't look like it. And given the fact that parties, the way they function seems to be rather haphazard, I would imagine not, but that is what they should do. have an IT cell that does monitor, does make complaints, and does, come out in support. Doesn't mean you abuse the other person who's abusing you, but, take action like that. But I don't think so. It would be great if there was.
Election disinformation is also very gendered, and women experience the internet very differently, as we all see. And I think you can share a lot of your personal experiences as well, because you express your opinions very freely. And watching some of those very vocal women, many others fear as to what you would get if you become active. So there is that silencing that is also taking place. If women were to be in public life, whether be it in politics or be in civil society, in any other form, are there different repercussions for women only because they are women?
Well, the repercussions is that you will definitely be subject to more gendered hate, the sexism, the misogyny. They will go after your personal life, they will go after the way you look, your body, the way you dress. So it's all personalized. The attacks are personalized to take down your person, right? It is to attack your internal person, as it were, to make you feel bad, to make you feel afraid, to make you depressed, or they're going for the emotional impact, and that once again is because we are a patriarchal society, and the only way to attack a woman immediately is to go to that level, the sexism, rather than on the points that she made, which shows that you don't also look at her as an equal, but as someone who is a sexualized being and someone who we don't respect. There is this quote, right? What is it that about, let me interrupt your expertise with my, what was it? Was it with my entitlement? Or to basically say that women, even at meetings, when women are the experts, and you see this I've seen a lot on Twitter, you are the expert on an issue, you have a lot of evidence, you worked on it for many years, and you are expressing an opinion. Someone who has no clue, right, has done no research, not even Googled it, will come out attacking you and what you have said. So the trick there, I suppose, is for women also, and it's not easy because it does have a mental health impact when abusive words are thrown at you in such a casual way in a public space. It does have an emotional impact. You go like, gosh, but it is, and of course, if it emotionally does impact you, it is good to get, you can speak to a therapist, you can speak to a friend, whatever you are comfortable with. But it's also to know, in a way, it's just, well, it's not just, but it is words. And for us, while we need to bring all that under control, we need to address the patriarchy, sexism. These platforms, they need to have stronger protections, they need to implement their community standards, all that, right? Yes, but we must also, to a large extent, personally I'm saying from this thing, it's to not care. In the sense of, you're attacking me, I am not going to give you importance. I'm not going to let you make me feel, afraid or feel ashamed or feel depressed. I will not give you that control because already you're abusing me in a public space. So it is, in a way, to also, while addressing all those other factors, it's all relevant. I'm not saying it isn't. And I'm not putting the responsibility on women, because that is what people do, and I think that is wrong. To say women have to be strong. No, I mean, you need to address the structural factors, but women also must see it for what it is. It is someone who feels powerless, that you are in that public space, that you have a voice, that you are being listened to, that people are respecting you, and it is their insecurity which is coming out in this abusive way. So see it for what it is, as their weakness, and do not get affected by it. Hold strong, don't always respond. They must not, because that just feeds the beast. Many of these people love it. They love the conflict, they love the chaos, they love the vitriol. So do not feed the beast. They get angry when you dismiss them, because what you're saying is, you're not important.
Yes.
What you're saying is important. You have not got to me. So please sit down, right? So I would say for women, those are little strategies that you can use to not let it affect you. And the other one is block. But of course, now Twitter or X has, they say that they're going to take away, well, where the block function is concerned, even if you block someone, they won't be able to engage or respond, but they will be able to see, which is a problem because then they can screenshot it and they can use it. And that undermines the protection that block gives, particularly for women, from those who are on a campaign to, to slander them, to create negative opinions about them, particularly where political campaign is concerned, that would have a negative impact on the women.
So we are hoping that there will be more women in the next parliament. Do you think there have been new challenges or fewer challenges ahead of them? There are so many unresolved issues, not only because they are women, but they are also from communities, and you represent multiple issues. Sri Lanka has gone through so much hardship and so much violence. And do you think women's agenda is cut out for them right now?
I mean, women's work is definitely cut out for them. And my advice always is, when you go to a new space, first thing that you do, it is, screaming from the rooftops or even just getting up and speaking. Yes, it's important, but only to a certain extent. If you don't know the process, if you don't know the rules, if you don't know the law, if you don't know the substance, they're going to use that to take you down. So it is important when they get to Parliament to read the standing,
standing orders.
Yes, standing orders. They need to read the standing orders. They need to read the Constitution. If you have a bill that is, that is gazetted and is placed on the order paper, which means it's going to come up for debate, make sure you know when is it going to come up for debate. Read it. And if you do not understand it, then go out and find experts or Google, find information, read up, because it's important when you speak there and when you engage in the debate. It's important that you know what you're saying, because if not, that will be used, and we have seen this, right? Women even within Parliament have been abused by their colleagues in the chamber, outside the chamber. We have seen all of that happen. So therefore, be very, do your homework. That is exceedingly important, because we have seen happening at the local government level, where we had, more women being elected, is that the men would use the lack of knowledge that some of the women had about the process to shame them, to intimidate them, or to prevent them from speaking. Therefore, it is important that women do their homework, standing orders, constitutions. If a bill is passed, go to the Parliament library, read up. Just make very sure that you are, and this actually is unfair. Well, it's not unfair, but we always find that women have to work harder. And particularly if you're a woman from a marginalized community, you have to work even harder than others to gain just basic respect. So in a way, that is unfair. But the way to battle it is, if you want to go out there and to battle it, you must also be armed with knowledge, with expertise. So I would say main thing is, you've really got your work cut out for you. Main thing is, do your homework. And don't let them weaponize lack of knowledge against you.
Ambika S, thank you for joining Her Pulse.
Thank you very much.